The dating marketplace.
Whoever heard of that?
When did love, the core emotion driving human interpersonal interaction, become an avenue for monetization? Have dating apps all over the world wreaked more havoc than good? What is the system behind this, and where does Tinder stand? I may not know any of these, but I do know one thing. Tinder is manipulating us. How, you might ask?
I'll tell you.
When Tinder came into the dating scene, it seemed promising. It claims to connect you with people all around the globe. You would meet several interesting people in the hope of finding love. You had finally found the cure for your loneliness, or so it seemed, but you saw matches and you were happy. However, all was not as it appeared.
You'll find out soon enough.
Tinder's manipulations began quite early in its history, even without its founders knowing. You see, Tinder's prototype, Matchbox, was created in a hackathon hosted by Hatch Labs in 2012. Hatch Labs is a captive fund for tech startups owned by the IAC, a vast conglomerate that specializes in endorsing businesses and brands. At this time, the IAC also owned Match Group, an organization that has over the years systematically acquired ownership and majority stakes in most online dating services. It operates under the brand names of applications like Match.com, OkCupid, Our Time, and Plenty of Fish. So it wasn't unexpected that Match Group would become interested and invest heavily in Matchbox after the hackathon. They were willing and able to provide Tinder co-founder Sean Rad and his team with the desperately needed funding. The only problem was that the name Matchbox had a keen semblance to Match Group's Match.com.
This is why
Matchbox eventually changed its name to Tinder. After this, the Match Group would be adopted as one of Tinder's parent companies, thus placing it directly under the IAC. With Tinder under its wings, Match Group now had a near monopoly of the online dating world and would exploit it in the years to come. Tinder's association with Match Group and the IAC meant more to the company than it appeared. The other dating apps under Match Group had flaws that attracted negative attention from the masses. On the other hand, Tinder was new and flourishing, and its founders didn't want it to be seen as just one of those apps. For this reason, Tinder tried to keep its perception of uniqueness by indirectly denying associations with the Match Group or the IAC each time. Rad proved the speculation by being notably evasive about questions concerning the IAC and its involvement in Tinder. Finally, after rigorous probing, Rad admitted that the IAC was not just a mere investor, but one of Tinder's majority owners. However, this was not the only thing Tinder kept from the public. For the first few years, Tinder claimed that its rapid rise and expansion were primarily due to word of mouth and peer-to-peer advertisements. But behind this rave, Tinder put a genius plan into motion. Justin Mateen, one of Tinder's co-founders, targeted the young and adventurous in schools and college campuses. He also introduced the app to prominent members of fraternity and sorority systems, selling the app as the future of dating and hookups. They also hosted huge publicity parties, where only people who downloaded and used the Tinder app could be allowed entry. This was just the beginning of Tinder's manipulative and discriminating operations. While many people jumped on the trend, few were uncomfortable with the development, but people were hooked at this point, and there was no going back. Due to Tinder's popularity, the company amassed several users. Tinder had users locked up with motivating prospects and an engaging user interface. Their swipe feature was the most addictive and allowed users to make quick decisions based on the hot or not concept. With this, Tinder's developers succeeded in gamifying the app and making it feel more like an arcade to its users. The app went with the tagline, "like real life, but better," and was a lot of fun, with unlimited swipes, people matches, and possibilities. But one day, it would all dry up. The same features that gained Tinder its loyal user base would be those used against them. By 2014, the Tinder app had already blown up on the internet. It became the most widely used application in the US and beyond. For a company growing as fast as Tinder was, it's why it wasn't already profitable by this time.
That makes no sense.
Investors were beginning to demand returns for their money.
I want my money back.
Prompting Tinder to try monetizing its user base. In 2015, Tinder released its first premium subscription called Tinder Plus, which was supposed to upgrade the basic Tinder app. It launched with Passport and Rewind, two features Tinder hoped would be able to make users part with their money.
Before this,
Tinder made matches by trying to connect two people living within close range of each other. This prevented people hoping to find dates in other parts of the world from doing so. Tinder Passport would change that by allowing premium users to change their base location to match those in other places. Also, Rewind allowed users to bring back profiles they previously discarded. When the new upgrade arrived, its unique features convinced several people to purchase the plan.
I think I am gonna buy myself a present.
However, many free users still felt that the basic version of Tinder was sufficient and didn't want to upgrade it. So, to drive the market, Tinder watered down the free version to make it obnoxious and unbearable. They reduced the number of swipes a person could make in a day to 20, and then to that number in a month.
And then it got worse.
Tinder would place ads between profiles to make users feel left out. Even though they were unhappy, everyone would eventually cave in and switch to Tinder Plus for a monthly fee. It was back. The vibe, fun, optimism. Users could do more with their Tinder accounts, like controlling their visibility, hiding and changing their age and locations. They could also have unlimited right swipes. All this for $9.99 a month or $10 more if you were over 28.
That's a problem.
Tinder had been discriminating about their pricing. They discriminated awfully between age groups, locations, genders, and sexual orientation. A group of people would pay a certain amount for Tinder services, while another paid less. An age discrimination lawsuit was filed against Tinder in the state of California. As a result, Tinder was made to pay millions of dollars in compensation and cease discriminating operations in the region. However, they continued their price discrimination in other areas. The Tinder board soon realized that they could make even more money by putting out yet another subscription tier, Tinder Gold. Available for an extra $5 or $10 if you were over 30, Tinder Gold was launched with Boost. The Boost feature promised to enhance matches by allowing users to rank at the top of the list for a small fee. Tinder Gold also had the Super Like feature, which allowed users to up-swipe on a person's profile to indicate high interest. Tinder Gold was a quick hit, and this success motivated Tinder to launch an even higher premium tier called Tinder Platinum. They desperately wanted to make more money, and for this they would compromise on one of the company's most vital founding principles. Tinder allowed its Platinum users to attach little notes to their Super Likes, thus increasing their chances of matching by 25%. This new feature eliminated the principle of mutual attraction before conversation, and on this plan, users also had access to Tinder Plus and Gold perks and a new feature called Priority Likes. Eventually, the free Tinder app became a demo, constantly rubbing in its users' faces what they might be missing for not being on any of the premium plans. Tinder had succeeded in totally gamifying the app. Users competed against each other for matches and were desperate enough to pay enormous sums for a taste of Tinder success. At this point, Tinder was guilty of practically everything in the books. They were monetizing loneliness, putting profit before people, and discreetly targeting the male population on their user base. It turns out Tinder wasn't working alone. They had a team of dedicated data analysts and scientists who gave ideas on how to best manipulate the number and psychology of their user base to make more profit. Tinder used all the information they were getting to tailor every move according to logic, most of which wasn't prosecutable by law. They took advantage of the fact that men outnumber women on dating apps, and it had been estimated to be a massive 9-to-1 ratio on Tinder. It has been found that men swipe right on profiles more often than women do, thus leaving them with success rate of barely 0.6%.
On the other hand,
Because women are more selective about their choices, they gain a match rate of about 10%. Meanwhile, Tinder limits the number of right swipes users can make in a day on the free plan, and this substantially reduces a man's possibility of finding matches. Now, finding a match is more ego-related for men than women, so they're more likely to pay for premium membership. Ultimately, the excitement of having better chances motivates men to pay for membership upgrades. Once a user purchases any of the premium plans, Tinder bombards them with matches, giving enough dopamine hits to keep them motivated to scroll further and even renew their subscriptions at the end of the month. Tinder even created fake accounts and users to trick men into paying for their premium plans. For this reason, a lawsuit will be filed against Tinder in 2019 by the US Federal Trade Commission. They would lie to users that some other persons had super liked them but wouldn't be able to see it unless they purchased a higher subscription plan. When such a user finally upgraded his subscription, his efforts would end in premium tiers.
Oh, Tinder.
But this wasn't the worst of the worst. Tinder had scores assigned to each user that governed how often it would display his profile. This is based on the amount of users' all-time right swipes. So if you haven't been getting matches on Tinder, it might not be because people haven't been swiping right on your profile. Tinder might not be displaying. They claim to have gotten rid of that, but whether they did or not doesn't matter in the end. Tinder won't try to find a match for you either way. Unlike the other apps, Tinder doesn't tailor its services to satisfy you.
As a matter of fact,
The fewer matches they make, the more profit they would get. This is because each time Tinder makes a match, it loses 2 customers, which amounts to well over $90 in monthly subscriptions. All in all, Tinder has revolutionized online dating, and that's great. But rather than solve existing problems, they've created a host of new ones, hiding the fact that they do so, and offered solutions to these same problems.
it's all a manipulation.
Check out this playlist I curated with videos I know you'll like if you enjoy this video.